was goody? It's your boy Ghiman Mckinney. I'm back with another video for y'all, and as y'all know, go Tar Heels, go Tar Heels. But you know, guys, we're not gonna talk about the Tar Heels that much. We're gonna talk about the Kentucky Wildcats and their dominating performance over the Tennessee Vols. Recently, today. So it won 86-69. Kentucky did. I'm gonna talk about the game, get my thoughts and analysis, as well as talk about some other teams in college basketball that did pretty good today, and just get my thoughts on them real quick. But mainly, we're going to talk about the Tennessee, Kentucky game. So Tennessee coming in the game, number 1 team in the nation, only about 1 loss in the year, 1 loss. Kentucky, number 5, recently did lose at home to LSU, so don't expect them to overtake Tennessee at the number 1 spot. But it was a dominating performance by Kentucky. Kentucky absolutely dominated Tennessee. I'm going to tell y'all why I'm actually not as surprised. For one, Kentucky, you really should start considering them as being one of your Final Four teams when it comes to March Madness. They're a real threat to win it all, in my opinion. They're one of the most loaded teams in the nation. I understand, they lost to Duke by like 34 points. People say, I understand that, but you have to realize something. Kentucky's always bringing players in and out of their program. There's so many players that leave. There's so many players that go to the NBA. So chemistry can be an issue at times. When you got a team like Duke, with Coach K, who's probably the best coach in the nation, you get them early in the year, they're probably going to catch you off guard. That's a huge, that's a huge adjustment for players mainly. Duke first game of the year, especially all those talents. You got RJ Barrett, Zion Williamson, all that stuff. But getting back to the game, Kentucky had a top 2 recruiting class coming into this season. So they were already supposed to be, playing at this level. Now it took them a while, and I understand that this is the Kentucky team we've all been waiting to see. They had the number 2 recruiting class coming into the year. Everyone thought that they'd be showing down with Duke at the end of the year, possibly. So I do think Kentucky is finding their ceiling. They had 6 blocks in the game. Tennessee only had 1. They had more steals than Tennessee. I think Kentucky was getting in their passing lanes. They defensively were all up in their grill. They were much more physical. They were hustling more than Tennessee. There was also about a 9-minute stretch in the first half where Tennessee only scored 7 points. Kentucky was locking them up. They was taking their lunch, man. They just were. Kentucky came to play. Tennessee, I'm not saying they didn't show up. They lost by 16. I expected better. But, Kentucky, this tells me a whole lot about them more than it tells me about Tennessee. Tennessee, to me, they're just a pretty good team. They're all right. Kentucky shot 54% from the field. Tennessee only shot 40%. That should tell you a lot. And Kentucky got a whole lot of wide open looks from 3. They were drilling 3-pointer after 3-pointer after 3-pointer. They got a whole lot of great looks from 3 in this game. They out-rebounded Tennessee by 12. Like I said, PJ Washington was great. Tennessee only had 11 assists, guys. They averaged about 22 assists a game. So they were really, really out of their element. They were playing a whole lot of one-on-one basketball. And to me, I understand that that you're not supposed to be doing that, but when you're forced to play one-on-one basketball in the tournament at times, you're gonna need to come through a little bit. And I don't think Tennessee can quite come through. And I still think they're a good team. I think they'll get somewhere around the Sweet 16, things like that. But Final Four, no. And also Kentucky, they just have better players than me. They're the best team in the SEC. Kentucky got PJ Washington, who absolutely balled tonight. He had like 23 points or something like that. PJ Washington was a grown man tonight. He ate the Tennessee Vols defense alive. Okay, he had a great game. Tennessee, they're one of the best passing teams in the NCAA. I believe they're top 3 in passing. They forced them to play one-on-one basketball. They were physical with them. They were active on the perimeter. They defended the 3-ball pretty well. Their hands were active. They were getting steals. They were getting out in transition and running. And they just looked faster, better, and more physical than the Tennessee team that's ranked number 1. Now, the reason why I'm not as shocked about this is because, Tennessee, they're a pretty good team, but the reason why I'm not as high on Tennessee as some of these other people are, I think they sort of got exposed a little bit tonight. Now I understand, playing at Kentucky, tough environment, tough road environment, all that good stuff. I get all that. I'm taking all that into account. But to me, Tennessee's a little bit overrated. I'm gonna tell you why. I have questions about Tennessee a little bit. In the first half, I believe they didn't even shoot a free throw. They didn't even get to the free throw line. They don't have a whole lot of great one-on-one basketball players. They play through a lot of good team concepts, which what I mean by that is that they rely on heavy ball movement and passing. And I said, I get that. That's how you should learn to work. But they don't have a lot of great players that can beat you one-on-one. And that's what concerns me. I think heading into this game, Tennessee had only played 3 ranked opponents on the year. Now you're saying, They're like, well, I think they were like 22-1, something like that. So I understand that's an amazing record. So they're doing exactly what they need to do with that weak schedule that they have. But their schedule's not the best. You know, they played Louisville team who they beat. They played a Gonzaga team who they barely beat. And I'm telling you guys, the Gonzaga is very overrated to me as well. I understand they're number 3 in the nation, but they're overrated as well. Gonzaga, outside of beating Duke early in the year, they have really just beating nobody in my opinion. You know, their conference is a joke. They play jokes every year. They'll make a couple wins in the tournament and things like that. But you know, I don't expect Gonzaga to go that far. From watching them play, from the people they've beaten and things like that, I just don't believe in Gonzaga fully. And they also played Kansas, who they lost to. So they played 3 ranked opponents. So now 4 ranked opponents. They're 2-2 versus all those ranked opponents. So basically, they're beating up on teams that they should be beating up on. But then you look at UK schedule. They played Duke, Mississippi State, Auburn, LSU, Kansas, Louisville, and UNC, my Tar Heels. They beat Kansas, they beat Louisville, and like I said, they beat UNC. So, you know, you're telling me if Tennessee had to play Duke, Mississippi State, Auburn, now they played some of these teams now, Louisville, UNC, LSU, Louisville, all that good stuff, I don't think they would be at 1 loss. I just don't. So you compare the 2 schedules, I think that Kentucky, you know, would do a lot better. They would be around the same boat as Tennessee would be if they had the same schedule. They dominated Mississippi State. They beat Auburn. They lost to LSU, but actually in that LSU game, if you look back, there was a lot of controversy in that game. A lot of calls that were called against Kentucky. You know, at the end of the game, you know, there was basket interference. That was a missed call to the officials. It could have went to overtime. So I think in overtime, I think UK probably would have won that game. So you know, they kind of got robbed in that game. The teams they played, they struggled versus Kansas. They struggled to beat Gonzaga. You know, they got blown out by UK. I just don't think that Tennessee has good enough players to compete. I really don't. You know, I think they've been, you know, hiding behind sort of a weak schedule. But you know, they're a pretty good team. Will I be surprised if they're near the top 4 at the end of the year, Final 4? No. But look at also Tennessee. You know, the reason why I don't think they're the best team in the SEC. The only player that's really been mocked by NBA teams to, you know, get drafted has been Admiral Schofield. Now Grant Williams is decent. They have a good point guard too, who's probably gonna play in the NBA. Yeah, Tennessee pretty good point guard as well. But you know, I just think that, you know, give me UK's players over Tennessee players any day of the week, guys. Now, UK, like I said, I do expect them to be the best team in the SEC. I do expect them to run through most of the rest of their schedule. You know, they've beaten North Carolina, they've beaten Louisville, they've beaten Tennessee, now the number 1 team in the nation. You know, Kentucky's on a roll. They're starting to hit their stride. Give Coach Calipari some credit. You know, he's bringing this team together finally. You know, I just think that they're on a roll right now. Like I said, I'm not saying UK is going to win it all. You still got Duke. You still got Michigans of the world. You still got the Gonzagas of the world, like I said. But honestly, if I had to pick, low-key, Kentucky's right there on my list to possibly win it all. And this might be the year for them. Now let's talk about a couple other teams. They got some decent wins today. Virginia, pretty good team. You know, they barely beat Notre Dame today. You know, Notre Dame's not a great team. Now, Virginia's only 2 losses are to Duke this year. But every year, Virginia's a great defensive team. They're a great defensive team this year. Probably the best defensive team. But what holds me back with Virginia is their offense. Their offense is just not where it needs to be, in my opinion. I need to see more offensively from Virginia before I can, you know, say they're gonna make a deep run in the playoffs. Just like last year, you know, they were a number 1 seed last year. They got bounced, I think, in the 1st or 2nd round because their offense is atrocious. I mean, it's not atrocious, but it's not where it needs to be. But Virginia, pretty good team. Louisville, another pretty good team, you know. Now, they struggled to close out games. They struggled to close out Duke. They had Duke beat by like 23-some points. They let Duke come back from a 23-point deficit. And they almost should have lost to Clemson today. They cannot close out games. So until Louisville can learn to close out games, not a huge believer in them, but they can make some noise. Florida State is really underrated to me. They competed with Duke earlier in the year, you know. They should have beat Duke. Florida State, a very underrated team to me. They got a nice little win versus Virginia Tech today. You know, Michigan, another good team. Another solid win versus Maryland. Michigan the other day lost to Penn State, a terrible team. But, you know, they've had a couple losses, you know, where they lost to Iowa. Who's the other team? Wisconsin. Not bad losses, but Michigan to me, pretty good team. I'm pretty high on Michigan. Now, if they can continue to make strides on offense, I'm going to be a little bit more higher on them. But, you know, until they continue to make strides on offense, don't know if I can pick them to go deep in the tournament. Now, they're not going to get upset in the 1st round or anything like that to me. They're not going to go home early. But, you know, Michigan, let's see with them, you know. I think they can make a deep run, but, you know, we'll have to see. I have to watch them a little more. Lastly, North Carolina today beat something called Wake Forest today by about 50-some points, you know, almost. You know, Funny thing is, North Carolina, really weird team this year for me, my Tar Heels. We've looked really, really good. Versus Gonzaga, we absolutely dominated them. Louisville, we had a pretty good win. Virginia Tech, we absolutely dominated them. But versus elite teams like Kentucky and things like that, whether it be Virginia, that kind of slows down defensively and things like that. So I have to see a little bit more from my Tar Heels. But hey, we a dark horse, just know that. But that's pretty much it for this video, y'all. Let me know your thoughts on some contenders in college basketball that you think can possibly win it all. Your thoughts on the Tennessee game versus Kentucky, Tennessee, all that good stuff. But it's been your boy, Ghiman Mckinney. Be sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe if you're new to the channel. I do post a ton of videos each day. It's been your boy, Ghiman Mckinney, and I'm Ghost.